Yo, 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 what is going on, COD Familia? It is your boy BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. And today, I'm going to be showing you my top 5, or better yet, giving you my top 5 suggestions to improve Call of Dragons from its current state, where we can hopefully take it to its next level. Let's start off with number 1. For me, removing counterattack damage. This is somewhat of a no-brainer, if you will, because at least for me, when it comes to watching as much PvP content as I do, from Merge Kingdoms to Season 1 Kingdoms, this is a handicap. When you think about counterattack damage and the fact that it's just passive damage that's being done just from you attacking another unit, right? Because the way that it's being done right now is that even if you have 2 range units attacking each other, or if you have this unit attacking this unit, right? Because, again, bearing in mind that if this unit is attacking this unit is not going to be attacking back right away. So you're going to be able to be doing damage. However, this unit will still be inflicting counterattack damage on the unit that's attacking it. The challenge here is that if you end up having, let's say, a almost max T5 player, maybe a max T5 player, maybe someone who's like max T4, about to go T5, and they're just a strong, high-powered player, they can really abuse counterattack damage by playing the handicap into their favor, right? You can do something like running like a Nika Madeline Nika, right, with the counterattack damage skills that just allow for you to deal a lot of damage out on the field. And so this is something where, to me, the way I would love to see it, and I'm talking about in its ideal kind of endgame state, is where the units themselves will, under no circumstances, attack another unit, right? Unless that unit is attacking, right? So, for example, if this unit is attacking this unit, that means that this unit over here that's being attacked is not generating any rage, and they're not immediately attacking the unit that's attacking it. Meaning that this unit is essentially inflicting free damage on this unit until that player comes online, clicks this unit, and then clicks over here to attack the unit that is attacking it, right? That's the way I would like to see it operate, along with not having counterattack damage in its ideal state, because I think this would allow for us to get to that true skill type of quality within Call of Dragons that would just take it so far and above any other game that exists in the market, and it would really set what I believe to be the true standard that we should be operating in these games, right? You want to try and get these things, in my opinion, based on where we've been seeing the trending direction for Call of Dragons, to that type of typical traditional RTS style. And so for me, this would just be such, I think, a good move. And then you monitor it, right? If you need to maybe make some adjustments later on to infantry or cav as an example, right? And we've talked about this before, where maybe one of the ways you compensate is by increasing infantry move speed a little bit, maybe increase defense a little bit, maybe increase HP a little bit, right, to kind of compensate for removing the counterattack damage, but something that you would assess and then potentially implement after you gather enough data and you've seen enough fighting. But I really believe in removing counterattack damage. You remove the unnecessary handicap, and then you allow for a level of true skill, or what I would consider to be a real level of true skill, to be applied. And I think that's where you would also, let me give you an example here of kind of the extreme situation. Let's say that I'm a free-to-play player, and I'm going up against a T5 or a max T5 player. I could have my 5 legions focusing one of their legions down at a time, and if they're in the open field, or they're not paying attention, or they're attacking someone else and I'm attacking them, they're not dealing free damage on me just because I'm attacking them, right? Effectively, you could kill, even though it would probably take you a little bit longer depending on the level of your troops and the level of your account overall. You could essentially attack a T5 or whale in this example, and you would take no damage, and you would deal all damage, and you could wipe all their legions, right? If obviously one of those circumstances or one of those situations are playing out, of course. But this would allow, I think, for the game to become even more free-to-play friendly by doing these things. So hopefully we can try and maybe get it to that state. Number 2 for me is King Tools, right? Kingdom Tools, I think, is really important when it comes to managing a kingdom. And even more important than that, it also plays a huge factor into player retention and keeping engagement and activity high within the kingdom, which, if you multiply that by the amount of kingdoms you have, you're talking about having good overall player retention and good engagement and hopefully sustained activity within your entire game. And an example of this could just be, right, whoever captures Flame Dragon, right? You get some king tools, and you start off simple. It doesn't have to be too extravagant, right? King's Mail, where you can message every single player in the kingdom, is a must. Migration, this is something that in my opinion should be controlled, where you allow anyone to migrate anywhere they want, and the king and or queen, whoever it is, essentially is able to control as far as accepting or denying people that are migrating, right? I really believe that kingdoms need to have a little bit more autonomy, and you need to be responsible for the decisions that you make, understanding that you are a steward and you are responsible for the players within your kingdom, right? Which means that we kind of need to start moving away from this alliance-focused type mindset that we know that the developers have kind of pushed out, because the fact is that the data isn't showing that it's trending that way, right? Remember, we took a poll from kingdoms 27 through 90 that showed the majority of kingdoms are unified going into Season 1 Plus, right? You're not seeing kingdoms that are just lawless, or it's every alliance for themselves and they're just breaking up immediately, and the semblance of what once was a Season 1 kingdom is just no more. Like, that's not happening at all. The data is not showing that. It's quite the opposite. Which, to be fair, is consistent with what we usually see in kingdom builders, right? One of the things, for those of you that have played Rock, you probably know that when you go and you start in a kingdom, you're usually going to have alliances that are going to attempt to communicate, try to work together to some degree, if there's not a group or some type of jump project that's going in there to hopefully provide some level of stabilization for whatever type of end goal or end game vision they have. This is something that is consistent, right? No, everyone knows it's kind of not... the people that have played for a while know it's kind of pointless to just have all-out lawless war Season 1, right? And you're really... because Season 1 is your best opportunity to develop before you start seeing the Darkling level increases, or the challenge, we should say, the difficulty of Darkling levels increase along with Dragon Trail. So the idea is you want to try and get everyone to be able to kill max level Darkling Season 1. You want to try and get everyone to max level Dragon Trail Season 1. It's only a benefit for the every player's development before they get to 1 Plus. Otherwise, it just becomes a detriment because of those hurdles that you also have to overcome. So again, having the ability to control your migration, I actually think it would be dope if you could see a resume for people. And it could be very simple. What was their power? What's their current power, or power when they applied? What kingdom did they play in? Or if they've migrated multiple times, what kingdoms did they play in? What was their power when they left those kingdoms? And then how long did they play in those kingdoms? Just something simple like that. It doesn't have to be, too deep. Next one is activity stats. I think activity stats, if you're going to be able to see, for example, Infinity Kingdom did something like this, where if you were in an alliance, they would show you how long it had been since that player last logged online. And it could be something as simple, and the reason I say this is really important, and I would love for this to be viewable by everyone in the kingdom. Again, if you want to limit it maybe just to king or queen or some of the certain roles that are attached to that, that's fine. But I really would like for this to be available to everyone, because I think it would show really good data. For example, there could be a section that says activity. You click on it in your king tools, and then it would say you've had 895 players that have logged in at least one time in the past 24 hours. Then it would say you've had 600 people or 700 people that have logged in, 600 people that have logged in the last one time in the last 48 hours. And then maybe it says you've had 200 people that have logged in one time in the last 3 days. Then you've had 50 people that have logged in the last one time in the last 5 days, right? Something like that. And you go 5 days a week, you can go 2 weeks, etc. This type of data to me would be great to show when it comes to how active are kingdoms. I think it would also give us a better insight. So I'm a big fan of adding something like that in. The next one is, I would love to see them add a migration incoming and outgoing list, right? So for example, if someone migrates into your kingdom, it populates them on a list and it tells you their name, what their power level is, and then it gives you the ability to click on their profile, right? And this could be something that is more exclusive to just whoever the king or queen is, or if there's certain roles that you can give out to assist in those. And then also an outgoing list showing who leaves the kingdom and maybe what kingdom did they go to, as an example, right? So the incoming is what kingdom are they coming from, and then you can see their power, their name, their profile. You can click on it. Outgoing list is which kingdom did they go to, right? What was their power when they left? And then, if you want to make the profile clickable or not. But I think it would be great to see that, because I think that kind of goes into, if you're thinking about, people that are migrating to a country and leaving a country, right? You keep data on that as a country. So why not keep data on that as a kingdom? So to me, I think that's really important. Next one is that if they add in buffs, for example, or titles, let's say, one of the things I'd love for them to do is add in an automated system. What this would look like is pretty simple. Let's say you want the title or the buff that increases your research speed or your building speed. So what you do is you would click on the king tools, you would go to titles or buffs or titles, I think is what we'll say, and then you'd click on the title you want and you would click to join the queue. When you join the queue, the king can set the intervals at whatever time they want. So let's say you want the building speed title. What the king would do would say, okay, well, I'm going to set the interval at 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. That means that whoever joins, and you can just have it on an every 5-minute increment, right? Or it goes every 5 minutes unless the king sets it to something different. That would be the time that you're allotted for the title. And then you join the queue as the player. When you join the queue, let's say there's 10 people in the queue, the king has the interval at 5-minute usage time. That means that if you join the queue, it would tell you, are you sure you want to join the queue? If so, you will receive the building speed buff in 50 minutes, right? And if you join the queue, it would then populate a countdown, right? Something here or wherever, it would populate a countdown that says like 50, 49, 59, 49, 58, etc. And then if you clicked on it, right, it would take you to the title and you could kind of see, but it would show you maybe like your position in the queue and then how much time until that title comes to you. And let's say you're offline. Well, if you're offline, once you get the title, maybe there's a notification that you can get pinged. If you do something like this, it takes away the burden of players having to essentially, again, if you're someone who's ever done title giving in Rock, unless you're using some type of automated bot, which they've started implementing, which again, scripters and other people have started doing as of late, but usually in most kingdoms, you're manually sitting there for just hours and you're just giving out titles, taking titles away, giving out, like it is. So, I don't want to say it's a drag, but it is very time consuming. So being able to have some type of automated system, I think would be amazing. And then for those of you who are like, well, what if they keep asking for buffs? Well, or buffs after over and over again? Well, you put a limit on it, right? You say, for example, you can only get a buff like once every 6 or 8 hours, like something like that. I think would be a nice thing. I don't think it needs to be 24 hours, but something to the point of where enough people could actually try to utilize the buff, and it's not just going to the same people over and over again. Alrighty, number 3, that was a long one, but number 3 for me is increased range for height elevations. So this to me I think is something important. I've talked about this a little bit in some of the PvP content that we've been covering, but an example here would be, Evelyn, stop playing, go out please. No, thank you. My daughter's messing with my lady's stuff. She's going to kill me. Only on Tuesdays. Okay, so height elevation for me is pretty easy, right? So let's say that number 18 can attack number 19. Like that's just the standard range as an example. If I'm 18, I should be able to attack maybe to like 5 or 21, something like that, where if you are elevated, you should get a small, not overpowered, a small, reiterating, range increase, right? To whatever unit you have. So if you're marksman, maybe you can do as much range as maybe if you're far, right? Because marksman is range far, so maybe it increases to range very far. And then if you're a mage and your range is very far, it goes from very far to very, very far, right? Something simple like that, where it's not overpowered, but it's enough where it's a small enough range increase to where you can get maybe 1 or 2 shots off before they come into range to attack you if you're both moving at the same speed towards each other. That, to me, I think would then take the game to another level. That would be dope, right? Next one for me, number 4, is alliance capacity carrying over to next season. Now, at a baseline, my belief, and this is something that we've talked about with some of the other content creators and a few others, is that what I'd like to see with member capacity carryover is that, let's say your alliance is 175 over 180 in season 1. when you go into Season 1 Plus, you should keep 175. I do not believe that they should kick players anymore, right? Or have you restart the alliance. What you should be able to do is keep the alliance, but then maybe get a free change token for the name, as an example. So when you go into the next season, you would still be at 175, even if the second number, right, is lower. Now, that's what I just feel should be done no matter what. Now, the second part to this is depending on how they do your total member capacity. Now, I feel they can do it maybe one of two ways. One way is you keep maybe you keep member capacity increase maxed out, right? So I believe if you max Alliance Tech, it should come out to about 100, and that's, again, with the exception of having flags, forts, and the behemoths that you've captured for increased member capacity. So that means that you could technically be 175 over 100 going into Season 1 Plus. The second option is that they increase the member capacity numbers for either the tech and or the number of flags every 10, forts that are being dropped, and behemoths that are being captured. Because bear in mind, there's less behemoths in Season 1 Plus than there is in Season 1. So if you're thinking about trying to compensate for member capacity, then you would have to increase some of these numbers. So to me, again, I could see it work out either way. I would love to see them say, well, okay, well, for every 10 flags, you'll get maybe 1 or 2 extra member capacity increases. For every behemoth you capture, depending on what the level is, we'll increase the standard member capacities by 1, 2, or 3, something like that. Same thing with forts, right? Maybe instead of it being 5 or 10, maybe it's 15, 10 or 15. So I think these are things that they can do that won't drastically impact the game, but would allow for a better overall player experience. Because the one thing that we know is being complained about right now, or let's just say that players are not incredibly happy about, is that they do not want to have to be removed from their alliance automatically. They have to join another one until the main, or whatever the new main is going to be, levels up enough to increase its member capacity to where they can rejoin. This just puts a burden on players, right? If they're playing somewhere and they're developing relationships and building bonds and having fun and having a community within their alliance, you're essentially, what you're doing right now is forcing them away from that to a degree in-game, so that way now they are going and playing in places they may not want to necessarily play in. That can be a turnoff, that could be a demotivating factor, that could be something that leads to player drop-off. So my recommendation is to not do that. At bare minimum, keep the member capacity for where it is as far as how many players are in the alliance, and allow for that to carry over regardless of what you do with the end member capacity. Okay, now let's get to number 5. Hang on, sweetie. Then we do starting kingdom zones in KVK. This is number 5 for me. I really believe that we should have starting kingdom zones because of the fact that, one, if you think about them with the most recent update and then putting in that new, the feature where it says, hey, 48 hours are going to have to wait now for Season 1 Plus, where you're not going to be able to attack any players, any tiles, attack anything essentially for 48 hours in the beginning. This is something that, in my opinion, is a band-aid. It's not really a long-term solution. And so I really believe that doing something like adding starting kingdoms in, and then you just say, look, every 4 kingdoms we're going to put into a group, each of them will start in a designated area, and you could randomize it however you want to come up with it. But I think that if you do that, not only do you allow for hopefully less early wars and fighting, because bear in mind, the adjacent Zone 1s here in Season 1 Plus, like Nivola, Forgotten Lands, oh gosh, where else am I going here? And Kaltia, right, open up pretty soon, right? It's about a week or so that they'll open up. So it's not a long period of time. Until you can start fighting with your adjacent regions going at it. But one of the things that it provides, and this is one of probably the most important things that is going to be overlooked, is that it gives people a safe haven within their home kingdoms, so they can continue developing without feeling that they're being ostracized or alienated because they're now having to be basically put into a position where they have to fight if you end up having early wars, because of the fact that you can choose which region you go to in Season 1 Plus. It's just not a healthy way to build sustainability and to keep player retention high within merged kingdoms, right? Now, some of you might just view it as, oh, well, hey, this is a war game, I can go and fight wherever I want. Sure, you can. But bear in mind that there's going to be repercussions if you decide to do that. And we've already been seeing quite a few of those, right? Think about it. Why would they put in a Band-Aid, if you will, to the situation if we were not seeing large-scale fights or just a lot of fighting happening in early Zone 1s? And this is one of the things I just thought Rock did really well, right? You can, and I want to point out and say something that, regardless of how you feel about it, I will say it because to me, even if they took CoD and they said, hey, we're going to make CoD a complete reskin of Rock, except we're going to do ranged play and have flying units, I would still play CoD over Rock every day of the week. Because, to me, that's a more enjoyable PvP experience that has a higher ceiling, a higher true skill, and just more quality. So, even though I'm happy that CoD is not an actual reskin of Rock, I just wanted to say that because, again, some people might view that, they may not realize really how awesome CoD is overall and really where its ceiling is, or I should say potential ceiling. So for me, that is something that I would love to see them do, is add in the starting kingdoms, because I think it would just allow a lot more of comfortability within a starting zone. And the fact is that it would dive and invest more into kind of general kingdom unity going in. Okay, now let's get to some of my extras here, and I'll go through these pretty quick. So number 6 is kingdom leaderboards versus KVK leaderboards, along with Kingdom Chat versus KVK Chat. This is something that I would really like to see them implement, because Infinity Kingdom did this really well, where they had a KVK leaderboard and then they had a home kingdom leaderboard. The difference with Infinity Kingdom is that you would actually go back to your home kingdom for a period of time, similar to Rock. But even if they do not plan to do that, which I would love to see them do, even if it was just for a week, right, I'd be fine with that. But at minimum, I'd love to have an individual leaderboard, a KVK leaderboard, and then an individual home kingdom chat. And it could say something like, for example, if I zoom in and you look at my profile, you see my characters from 65. I would love for them just to add something here that says Kingdom 65 or K65. And that could be a chat just for people that are in that kingdom. And then the Tamaris is the KVK chat. Same thing with leaderboards. If I go on leaderboards, I'm only seeing the KVK leaderboards. I would love to see my home kingdom leaderboards. I just think this is a great way. I think it does a few things. One, it shows that, because you think about how migration works. If you're migrating in the game at the end of Season 1 Plus for that small couple-day window, you're migrating to a specific kingdom, right? You're going from one home kingdom to a different one. But if you can't see which alliances are in that home kingdom or which players are in that home kingdom, it just lowers and lessens the chance that you could organize and coordinate yourself better, because now you have to think about it. In its current state right now, the only way that I can really organize and figure out who's in the home kingdom after I'm in 1 Plus is if I'm taking down names and coordinating with all the other leaders, and I have to do all of that before going into Season 1 Plus, right? So to me, not only does it lower the quality of coordination between alliances and within their home kingdoms, but it also doesn't allow for you to kind of keep up with things in real time, with who's in your home kingdom, which alliances are still there, what's general power, etc., things like that. You basically would have to organize everything on Discord or something else externally. And so to me, this is something I'd love to see added in. Then we get to number 7 here, which is free talent resets, right? Or better yet, no talent reset costs. I am a big believer that when we're talking about open field PvP, we need to be able to switch between talents at any point in time without having to pay any costs. This, to me, would allow for a higher level of talent customization and also unique play styles in the game / just on the field. I just don't believe that these should cost anything. I think you should be free to switch between them. I also would love for them to expand the number of presets from 3 to 5. This is something that I think would only take the game to its next level, and it would show that not everything you have to spend for, that they understand that, hey, this game is different than other kingdom builders, and we actually have a great and unique opportunity to invest more and double down into the quality style that we are presenting versus or compared to our predecessors. And this is something I'd love to have them or see them add in. Next one, number 8 for me, is expanding leaderboards, right? I think Rock right now goes to 1,000. I think Infinity Kingdom went to 300 from when I last checked, but this was probably a year ago. And unfortunately, I shouldn't say unfortunately, I should say what it is right now is you can only go to 200. I'd love to see them expand this to 500, ideally 1,000. Just because, and I'm going to give an example here that connects to an earlier point. If you added something like King's Tools, and let's say it says you've had 900 players that have logged in at least one time in the last 24 hours. I can go to my number 900 player and I can look at what that bubble position is. Those are things that could also help kingdoms and or alliances organize themselves, or figure out, well, okay, these players are potentially a little bit more active. Maybe we'll try and get them in as an example for when we go into kind of our fighting. Or, for example, if you're in Season 1 Plus, you can kind of redistribute players appropriately. It's just nice to be able to have additional data sets and data points, I guess is really where I'm going with it. Number 9, For me, I think a visual indicator on profiles and publicly for which kingdoms players are in. An example of this would be if I click on this player, there should be somewhere here that says like where their home kingdom is, right? Even if it's in like grayscaled letters, if there was like a dash and it said like 62 or something. In addition, if I'm looking at the personal power, I would love for something here to show which home kingdom people are from. Same thing, if it's a dash, brackets, if it's a parentheses, and it's grayed out, or not grayed out, but it's not like transparent, but it's just, a different shade color. I'd love for that to be the case. I would just like for there to be some type of visual thing where it shows you which home kingdom or what current kingdom players are in, right? Because you'd have to compensate for people that have migrated to as well. And then I'd like for it to show on the profile somewhere, right? I think that would be really cool, just as kind of a nice quality of life. Next one, number 10 for me, is kills. I think kills need to be a little bit more detailed, and I'll give you an example here. Right, if we click on just the first player and you see units killed, I'd love for this to be broken up to where it says open field versus tiles, right? Or open field, rally, tiles, something like that would be really cool to see. Because the thing is that, to be fair, again, to me, the things that I'm going to value with kills is those that are being done in the open field, and then also those that are being done in rallies, because if you're killing a lot in rallies, it shows that you're joining rallies, right? I'd also love to see if it says like number of rallies joined, right, that actually attacked something, or attacked other units, right? That would be a really cool stat to see. I think dead is okay. I think the challenge with dead is I would love for this to show... well, the thing is, you don't really get dead for open field, so it's not really like that impactful. Maybe the difference between city dead and rally dead, that would be cool. Maybe a little differential there. But for kills, that's something I would love to see. And in addition, breaking that down to T5, T4, T3, T1, T2, T1, right, as an example. I think that's something that we eventually saw added in Rock. I'd love to see that added in here in COD. And then my last one, which is number 11, that was 10, so this is number 10, 1, 11, so we'll say that, or bam, there we go, I figured it out, is I would love for them to remove merit points from attacking farmers, or farming tiles. So, like, for example, if I go and I attacked this person here, I don't get any merit points for that. Sure, maybe you could say you could steal resources or something, right, as an example based on how much they've gathered. But I just don't think that you should get any merit points, in my opinion, for doing that. And the reason I say no, yes, that is probably going to be a little bit more controversial because some people will say, well, hey, look, all's fair in love and war. You need to be able to kind of hold your territory. The fact is that you can still, it's not like people would necessarily full-on stop attacking tiles. I'm sure they would still do it. But the fact is that I think we should be really going in a direction of kind of either whether it's organized or not organized war, but focusing on merit gains for people that are fighting, and not and again, I just view it as kind of just taking more of an easy out, so to speak, by going and attacking farmers. Yes. Again, do I think that it's abhorrent to do so? No, I mean, I don't, right? At the end of the day, if you're warring and you end up winning the war and then you're going deeper into their territory to go and attack farmers, right, you have every right to do so, right? I'm not shaming anyone or saying, how dare you? It's just, I think for me, if we're looking at trying to get the game to a state where we are able to see quality PvP, right, I think that's something I'd love to see the game focus a little bit more on. In that front. So to me, if they removed merit points from being gained from attacking people that are farming on tiles, I honestly would have no problem with it, and I would actually love to see it. I just think it would be a general improvement. That's my view. All right, that's my 5, plus you got 6 more from me. I was feeling a little generous today. That's going to do it. I'd love to hear your thoughts, right? I'm really curious. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you like maybe the direction that I was going in, but you have a different variant of maybe how you'd branch off differently? And then any thoughts that you have, let me know in the comments down below. That's going to do it for me. As always, until next time, I will catch you later.